Good morning, woohoo, it's Wednesday, and here we are, my weekly live in my group Lifestyle is Health, and of course on YouTube. How are we, folks? In London, we appear to have blue sky and sun back again. Hurrah! Oh my God, it's been so cold, hasn't it? I don't know about you guys, but I was absolutely freezing yesterday in the wind, and I was like, I'm going to have to put more layers on because I didn't want to put the heating on. Anybody else thought about it? I know I definitely crossed my mind. I didn't actually do it though. I had my dad's words in my head going, put another jumper on. And so I did. So I wanted to just jump in today and just, well, a couple of things. First of all, hopefully you've seen the post about the Luscious Ladies Lunchtime Live. Right, try saying that really, really quickly. It's a bit like a tongue twister, isn't it? But we are going to go live, loose women styling. That's what we're kind of aiming for, that kind of relaxed feel, a chat with three women who we're all kind of between 30 and 55, with me being at the top end. And we wanted to just get together and just really have conversations about stuff that affects all of us in day-to-day life and how we manage it, our thoughts on things. We might not always agree with each other, but that's going to be the fun of watching. And we just want it to be a celebration of aging, of different stages of life for all of us. And I hope that you can join us and watch live. It will be going out here in this group live. I will be putting a recording of it on YouTube, and it will also be going live on Lucy's channel. So my two other co-guests / hosts, we're all kind of equal. There's nobody above each other, so we're all kind of presenting, talking on the same level, folks. So Lucy Wilkinson, otherwise known as Luby Lou, is one of the ladies, and the other lady is Jessica Staniforth. Now, I've interviewed Jessica here. So if you want to scroll down and have a look at some of the Coffee Time Lives on a Friday, you'll see Jessica there. She's the sex education lady. And I'm going to be interviewing Luby Lou this Friday on Coffee Time Live. So if you don't get a chance to join us today, you'll be able to see who Lucy is on Friday, where we have a chat about life, the world, families, lockdown, going back out there and all of that good stuff. So what I wanted to also talk about today is, it's funny, isn't it, how things kind of go in cycles of what are the sort of hot topics to talk around. And what I've been talking to a lot of people about recently is how difficult it is to get a doctor's appointment. And I know that myself. So I had to complete an e-form to even get a phone consultation, and then I was told that actually to see somebody and get an appointment to see somebody could take anything up to a month to 3 months. So that's a pretty long waiting time. Now, if you have got issues going on that are going to get worse over time, then the thought of having to wait that long to speak to somebody is daunting. And this is where, if you do have private health insurance, it's definitely going to come into its own. That being said, the private health insurers are also struggling at the moment to be able to have people available to meet with demand, which you can imagine because of the pandemic. So kind of everybody's in the same boat. However, this does mean that it is an opportunity for a lot of us to look at, actually, do I need to go to the doctor with this stuff? Now, there is some stuff that actually you definitely do. But there's a lot of stuff that you can look at yourself. Now, I've already shared with you on another live about the 3 things that you should have available to you in your home, those being a thermometer, a blood pressure monitor, and a blood sugar monitor. And you can do a lot of kind of investigative work by looking at what is going on. So if you've got issues with menopause, for example, then you can take your temperature on a regular basis when you're waking up, and you can keep a chart of what is going on, which will help you to understand where you're at with your cycle and just what might be going on in terms of your hormone balance. You can also look at the symptoms and the signs of estrogen dominance, which for a lot of people, it's that causes the problem with menopause. And here's the thing that I wanted to share with you folks. So talk of menopause does kind of go in cycles. And I know that there are a lot of menopause coaches out there, and there's a lot of information out there on menopause. But what I want you to know is, honestly, a lot of this stuff comes down to basics. And a lot of you are going to dismiss what I'm saying because it feels too simple. But what I know, what I've learned very, very clearly over the last 15 plus years of doing what I do and helping people with their health, is that it's the simple stuff, the everyday stuff, the simple stuff that we can do that most people are not doing, that makes all of the difference to their health. And it's because it's too simple, people don't think it will make a difference, but it will. And so what is one of the simple things that I'm talking about? Managing your stress. So what most ladies do not understand is that stress has a massive effect on all of your hormones. And just let's clarify again. And for those of you who've heard me say this stuff before, it doesn't hurt maybe to just remind yourself and hear it again. All the word hormones means is messenger. That's all a hormone is. It's a messenger. It's a messenger that then goes to a different part of the brain or an organ in the body or a system, and it gives a message to something else, which might be another messenger, right? Or it might be a neurotransmitter, or it might be part of the endocrine system that is responsible for making you do something, feel a certain way. It might go directly to your brain, might go directly to your heart, to your lungs, to your liver, to your gut lining, whatever. But you have got messengers or hormones for everything, right? For keeping your body temperature on track, hormones. For keeping your mood, right, level, hormones. For keeping your blood sugar in balance, hormones. For you to be able to sleep, hormones. For your hunger regulation, to give you an appetite, hormones, right? You get in the idea. Everything is about hormones. So when people talk to me about hormones and they're just talking about menopause, what they're really talking about is those female sex hormones, right? But they're only a tiny part of hormones. And what I need you to take on board is they are affected massively by all of the other hormones in your body, and in particular, the ones that the body releases when it's under stress/anxiety. And if you can manage your stress a little bit better, then the chances are your menopausal symptoms will also improve, right? There is an absolute plethora of research that shows exactly what goes on when the stress response kicks in terms of how it affects your estrogen, your testosterone, and your progesterone. And the problem with this is people don't want to hear it, right? Because like, oh yeah, right, it's stress, right? But it's absolutely true. And unless you take that on board, then you're potentially going to make a struggle with menopause much, much harder than it is, because people get symptoms and then they stress about the symptoms. What's wrong with me? What's going on, right? Thoughts are the biggest cause of stress, and usually thoughts about stuff that has not even happened yet. That's the most in the whole world. That is the thing that causes more stress for anybody. It's thinking about stuff that has not happened, that might happen, that could happen based upon your past experiences, based upon what you've heard, based upon what somebody else has told you, based upon what you've read. And what we need to get clear on is you might not feel stressed, and that's the problem. That's the biggest problem with stress. So stress, unlike anxiety, where you absolutely feel anxiety, you can feel when your heart is elevated and it starts to race. You can feel when your hands get clammy. You can feel that kind of churning, like almost wringing a dishcloth out sensation in your stomach when you're anxious. So that's really, really obvious. But stress, not so. You can't feel elevated blood pressure, for example. You can't feel those hormones telling your brain to release insulin so that you've got more glucose running through your bloodstream. You can't feel that, but it's happening. And that, my lovelies, is what is affecting the testosterone, the estrogen balance further up the kind of the chain. So when people think about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, they think that that's it. But no, I talked about hormones for a reason, because there are other hormones that are like, if you like, master hormones that will then tell the body to make the other ones, right? So you've got something called DHEA, you've got something called pregnenolone. Okay, now those things are affected massively by another hormone, which you've all heard of, called cortisol. Okay, if your body is under stress and cortisol is required, then your body is going to steal some of the pregnenolone and the DHEA that should be used to make your testosterone, your progesterone, and your estrogen. It's going to steal it away, because the demand for those stress hormones always prioritized over the demand for the sex hormones. And that is why worrying about your menopausal symptoms and worrying about not sleeping and worrying about this and worrying about that is actually going to make menopausal symptoms worse. So what can you do? Learn to turn the volume down. Learn to understand that most of the stuff you're worrying about isn't true. It hasn't happened yet. So if you're not somebody who journals about things, I really recommend that if you feel that you are going through menopause or you're starting with those symptoms, then you start getting your worries and your thoughts out on paper. Right? And this is an exercise that I do with so many of my clients, because the best way to understand what is going on in terms of stress and anxiety is to actually be aware of those thoughts that keep recurring in your head. And there's a phrase that you might have heard me use before, but if it's in your head, you're dead. Right? That's a phrase that I picked up in addiction rehab. But basically, it's all of this stuff that's churning around in your head that usually makes us take actions that are not necessarily beneficial, whether that's drinking more, whether it's being risky with sex, whether it's overeating, right? And it's based upon all of this stuff and I'm doing this because I always refer to it like a washing machine head, right? Because these thoughts are going round and round and round and round. If you get them out on paper, and if you can see what you're actually worrying about, then you can consciously ask yourself, okay, so first of all, is that even true? And if it's not, I can stop worrying about it and go and actually do something that gives me some joy and changes my energy and changes my mood. If it is true, is there something that I can actually do about it? Or is it something that actually is beyond my control? If it's something you cannot do anything about, we've got to let it go. Because you worrying and being anxious about it won't change a damn thing. Okay. However, if it is something that you can do something about, then again, pen and paper, write down what are the steps that I can take to help me to deal with this issue so that I am not then stressing myself out about it. So you can see how the power of pen and paper, journaling, taking notes, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter, but getting it out of your head and onto paper is so, so powerful and so, so helpful. Now, are there other things that you can do to help to manage those symptoms of menopause? Well, yeah, absolutely. When it comes to moving your body, okay, movement is massive. I don't mean that you have to go out running or spend an hour or two in the gym every day. That is not what I mean. I mean you need to get off your ass, move as frequently as you can. So if you are working from home, factor in regular breaks. Get out of the room that you are working in. Change the energy. Energy's in rooms, you all know that. If you can get outdoors, get outdoors. If you've got a garden, go in the garden, slip your shoes off for 5 minutes, just walk on the ground. Doesn't matter whether it's concrete or whether it's grass, just walk on the ground barefoot for 5 minutes or so and breathe. Just breathe in the fresh air and notice what's around you. Look up rather than looking down. Simple stuff. That's why I said people don't do it. It's too simple, but it works. What's the other thing that you can do? Stay hydrated for sure. If you're moving your body and you're hydrated, then you're going to get your lymphatic system working well. And why is your lymphatic system important? It's part of your detoxification system. Your hormones, all of them, break down when they've been used, create waste products. Almost think of it, if you like packaging on something. You take that packaging off, you take the stuff out, you use that, right? You throw the packaging away. It's a bit like that with spent hormones. They have to go through your detoxification system. And if you're not moving your body and if you're not getting in enough fluid, then it's really hard for that detoxification system to work well. And what that means is that your body ends up reabsorbing some of those spent hormones. They have to go back through the liver again for detoxification. Well, your poor body's trying to cope with today's stuff. It's having to deal with yesterday's. And if you're really inactive, the day before's and the day before's and the day before's. So getting a lymphatic drainage massage, amazingly helpful. Not available to all of us though. So literally using a foam roller is a good thing to do. Dry brushing your skin, really excellent to help with lymphatic draining. Self-massage, or get your partner to give you a massage. And I'm sure on our Luscious Ladies live lunch today at 1:30, we'll be talking about where that could potentially lead to, or not, because you're in control. And so think about that instead of just going straight to diet. Yes, is diet important when it comes to menopause? Without a shadow of a doubt. We know factually now, there's too much research to refute it, that caffeine for a lot of people can make hot flushes worse. So can spicy foods. We also know that for a lot of people, that majority, to be absolutely honest, that gluten, avoiding gluten is hugely going to help. Eating fresh food made from scratch is always going to be much better for your body, whether you're menopausal or not. So again, it's this simple stuff, but we're not doing it. So I hope that has been a little bit helpful. And if you are worried that you are going through menopause, know your own body, right? Track. If you're not somebody who's been tracking your periods, start tracking them. If you're not somebody who's been tracking your temperature, start doing that. Right? Start knowing what your blood pressure is. I'm not saying go OTT, but do it once a week. Find out what's going on. If you're feeling like you've got brain fog, look at what am I eating? Am I eating a lot of gluten? Am I eating a lot of sugary foods? Am I eating a lot of pre-packed foods? Am I drinking a lot of coffee? Simple questions to ask yourself. And then you can start to take responsibility for making the changes. And I'm just going to finish on this. If you do go to your GP, then please know that they're not going to rush into testing and telling you for definite that, yes, you're going through menopause. They're unlikely. They're going to do what I've kind of done and ask you questions about what's your temperature like, what is your sleep like, what your thought process is like, how's your mood. Hopefully they'll ask you those questions, so you kind of know. And if you know your own body, you'll sort of know if things are different. Whether you put a label on it as perimenopause or whatever, that doesn't matter really. In the grand scheme of things, it's about how you feel, and if you don't feel good, can you do something to improve it? And if you want some help with this stuff, then I'm here, right? Ask me questions. This is what this group is for. Okay, are there some tests you can get for yourself online and stuff? Yes, there are. You can get online tests. Amazon do one but it's from Germany. It's called I think it's Virana. You can have a look at that. There's also a couple of places that you can get your own testing kits from, for sure. There are private health clinics where you can literally make a phone call and say, are you seeing people? And most of them have websites, and you can order the tests that you want and rock up, depending on where you live and what's available to you. So there are lots of alternatives out there if you feel that you do want to get testing done. But I'm kind of giving you a heads up and warning you in advance. Getting testing done for this stuff from your GP is not easy. Right, because it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it's a lot of people power, and it costs a lot of money. And right now, that's not going to be their priority. So this is why I'm encouraging you to do what you can for yourself. Do your due diligence. There's a lot of doctors on the internet who I highly recommend that you have a look at their websites who specialize in menopause symptoms. So Dr. Michelle Sands has got a book out, I think on Amazon. She's also got a website that covers her kind of signature program, which is called the Glow program. There is another lady called Dr. Rita Maria Riscoso. She does a lot of menopause stuff, and there's a couple of other people. But if you just Google menopause specialists, probably put America. There don't seem to be very many in the UK who have got any decent amount of sites and self-help sort of stuff. But if that's what you're looking for, I'd go check those two out. Do a little bit of a Google search. Just remember, if you're doing a Google search on somebody, follow it then through with finding out, are they on LinkedIn, for example? Find out what they do on Facebook. Who are these people? Yeah, do make sure that you look them up, and not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry. And yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. So if you can join us live, I would love you to do that. It's 1:30 today here in the group. It's Luscious Ladies Lunchtime Live, and I will be with Jessica Staniforth and with the lovely Lucy Wilkinson, and I hope that you can join us too. Have a great Woohoo Wednesday, whatever you do. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.